What was going through your mind when you decided
You want to quit
quit a good paying job for uncertainty?
In the words of Peter Obi, I got the advice from a madman.
It's my wife said, before I collect this resignation, I want to talk to your wife.
When we started SoFresh, I was earning 0 naira from SoFresh.
Yeah.
That lasted until about 6 years. When I left Chevron to join SoFresh, I took about a 75% cut in my pay.
Who earns more on SoFresh? Either of you.
My CEO, my oga at the top. Our question is that he wants him to reduce my salary.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bola. Welcome to another episode of the MinieMoney Show. Today, we have one exciting guest. And I said one for a reason, and you guys will find out. Because they said, what God has joined together, no man shall put us under. When two becomes one. We have Abimbola and Goke, Balogun, the Baloguns of healthy food in Nigeria. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
What did you think about that introduction, saying we have just one guest? What did you think when I first
heard one, I'm like, wait a minute. Did he forget that we had two? But yeah, the way you spend it, that was smart.
Yeah, so thank you so much for taking this. When I first of all reached out to you, I was like, will this be possible? And when you said, okay, that even when you told me that, okay, yes, we can do it on this, I was like, are you sure? So thank you very, very much for doing it. I don't know if you guys have ever done like a joint podcast interview together.
Yes.
A couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's normal
Many
for you.
times.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure.
Okay, so it's great. Now let's just really go into it. Basically, MinieMoney Show, what we try to do, have conversations with people. Let's have real conversations about interactions with money. Nigerians, maybe Africans, find it difficult to talk about money. Sometimes they say black tax, I don't want anybody to know what I'm earning, I don't want all this. So it now puts to question a lot of people's successes, right? Some people talk about some entrepreneurs and say like, okay, maybe they've done some things behind their back to maybe achieve their success. And I believe that is because a lot of people don't talk a lot more about how they've achieved it. So, which is why we want to do this. And I hope that a lot of people will be able to learn from you people's experience.
Absolutely.
Now, let's start from the beginning. And I think you should take the lead.
Okay.
What were your first thoughts, interactions, lessons about money from you being a young girl growing up?
Oh, great question, right? So growing up, for me, money was present in the house, actually. Money was part of us because my dad was a military man at the time. So, of course, they were treating them really well. I remember that we usually would travel for quite, well, these days you would call it luxurious holidays. And so, but some years after then, he had some problems at work, and then money became a little bit scarce. And what that showed me was that it's actually very important to understand how to manage money, not just for now, but for, tomorrow. And so I saw my mom literally move from, of course, being a teacher, a great one at that, to juggling that with a mini restaurant. So talking about my relationship with money, I would collect money from customers, right, and give it to my mom. So I went from being the, rich kid that would travel around to serving customers and making money, for us to at least have food on our table. So that was my experience with money.
That is quite interesting. I don't know, is it the same thing for everybody within our generation? There seems to be this common factor of, okay, I remember when we were growing up, there was a bit of money and then something that happened in between. Is that the same case? What was your own experience growing up?
So I'll say it was very different for me. Both my parents were lecturers. we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. I mean, we were just there. And I think, thinking back now, I think my parents did a lot to mask the fact that we didn't have, a lot of money at that time. But, I didn't really feel it. I didn't really know it because, they did everything, possible to, provide, the basic things we needed. They made sure we attended, the best schools around they could afford. Um, so I didn't have as much relationship with money growing up. However, even though I wasn't born into a lot of money, but that became a bit, worse when my dad had to be retrenched because he had some health, condition with his eyes. I know as a teacher, he couldn't, function as much. So he was retrenched. So we now had to depend on my mom's salary alone while he was trying to fix his health and all of that. So around that time, just like, Bimbo, we had to now start family business. So we started doing, photocopying business center. I sold, a lubo and all of that. So I knew how hard it was to get money, to get money, put food on the table, pay school fees and all of that. In fact, when I finished secondary school, I was the first manager for the business center. So and that was my first interaction around making money.
That is interesting. Again, some of the people that we've spoken to, there is also something that is very common. The mothers are the bedrock of the family, one way, shape, or form. And it seems to be the same thing with you guys. Now, at what point did you guys now meet? How many years ago did you guys meet? And then what was the circumstance like? Before I now delve into what were your first thoughts about him in relation to money, and what was your own thought as well? Maybe you should go.
Okay, we met in 1999, right?
So you're a democracy couple.
So that's how many years now?
Wow.
25 years ago. So we were moving from Kwara State to Ilorin, where they lived. And we had just moved into this neighborhood. And so naturally, the closest church to our house was where we attended on this Sunday. And then when I walked into the church with my parents, it was praise worship that was going on. And coincidentally, it was him that was leading the praise worship.
Ooh.
I of course, I was a choir where we're coming from. So music gets me, and I just connected with him, and I loved him at first sight. A stranger, right? I haven't even said hello to. I am telling you. And so somehow a mutual friend introduced us, and then we became friends. And then we went to the same uni, same church. Same neighborhood, so we're really close friends.
And she decided to join the choir.
That he was in at the time.
I didn't know that was ulterior motive.
But getting close to him, I saw that he was a very focused young. You were a teenager at the time, of course.
No.
Oh,
25
really?
years.
20. Okay, yeah, just moved out. So I just love the fact that he was focused, and along the line with our discussions, you had started investments. I think maybe buying in little. He had an older brother that he was big on buying stock at the time. So even in between our conversations, you will be referring to. I'm like this, but this guy's head is correct. Like, this is the kind of person that I would love to roll with. So I think our values align, because I'm someone, of course, that was well raised as well. Our values align, and I loved everything around how they also run their home. I moved closer. I saw the mom. I saw the family at closer range, and I just connected with his lifestyle at the time.
So you say it was very, very prudent with money when you met him?
Yes, because at the time I was in uni, and I saw how they lived in the hostel, cook, manage money. This is how much I have. This is what we can afford. So I know that he's someone that, understands that there is tomorrow. So let's plan and not eat everything today.
So, Goke, like she said, at 20, you had been investing.
Um, so I think I started investing around 22, 23,
22.
but I started
Researching.
researching, learning, because I had an older brother that was already working and was already investing in shares. So we're always talking about.
So that was when the Nigerian stocks was still booming.
Yes. So I'd had, in fact, the first salary I got when I started working, everything went into buying shares.
So can you remember the shares that you bought? What company?
Oh, I actually bought, Zenith Bank. So I just been in that circle of, the right environment where I knew, it was important to invest, and all of that. So, yeah, I started having that conversation from 20 years old.
So what did you think about her when you met her about money? Did you think, okay, maybe she didn't care, or maybe...
This one is here to come and clear my account. So money that I don't even have.
So I didn't form any serious impression, but she didn't care. Money didn't seem to be an issue. Money didn't seem to be a conversation. And I can remember clearly an incident that really jolted me. So when I finished university, I finished top of my class. I was the best student. I had a very good, 2-1 result. And then it was now time to look for a job. I went for service. I came back. And then I got my first job with Mr. Biggs. And my first pay slip, the amount of my appointment letter was 27,500.
Wow.
And I showed it to her, and she was excited.
So hold on. You guys weren't married then?
We were dating. Okay. And I'm like, I got an appointment with Mr. Biggs. This is my salary. And I didn't expect her to be but she was really excited. I'm like, why is she excited for 27,500 and all of that, So that just, kind of, solidified my impression that, she was not really, concerned about today. It was always going to be an opportunity to build. So money was never really an issue, with her. Also, she just didn't care. All while we were dating, even when we were married, she doesn't really ask for things or money and all of that. You can see now, she's a boss woman. So, yeah.
So that particular check, the first one, everything went into shares.
So interestingly, when I joined Mr. Biggs, they had just started their franchising. So the first 4 months we weren't paid.
Ooh.
So my brother, my mom, they were still subsidizing me. So when the 4 months came together,
a lot of money.
I bought Nokia 1100. Okay. Every other thing went to shares.
So you told her that. And how did you feel when he said all the money was going to go into share? Oh, you had already done it. How did you feel?
I can't even remember, to be sincere. But I at the time you were living.
I was in Ibadan.
And I knew that food will be taken care of from the person he was living with, and if you had extra change that would take you to your workplace, then life is good. So if you put everything into stock, it is for something that will yield, much more bigger returns for you in the future. So I like to look at, the result, or, what we are building is potentially going to yield for us, because we can't eat everything anyway. So if you can eat, there's roof over your head, and you can get to work, then we are good.
Great. So do you remember your own the first job you got, the first pay?
So the first job I got was with Kwara State Ministry of Justice. And at the time, I am not as prudent as he is, I must admit, in terms of, investing and all of that. But of course, I had a bank account, and my salary will go into my account, and I don't blow everything at once. So yes, I think that was the recollection, I have.
Do you remember the exact amount?
They paid us well. I think it was around maybe 67,000 something, as a young graduate, just leaving NYSC after my call to bar. So I think it was around 67,500-ish. Yeah. And it was a lot of money as well. 2006. Yes, 2006.
That's great. So if we now merge your experiences together and then you guys got married, you guys seem to have similar background or similar beliefs when it comes to finance. So I want to believe that getting married, managing your family finance must have been quite easy. But do you want to shed more light on that? Was there a conversation around, okay, we're married now, this is what I'm earning, this is what you are earning, this is how much we're going to put together, or how does it work?
I don't think we really had any sit-down, serious conversation.
But I remembered one incident, right? You had just dropped me off my brother's place at the time. And he asked me a question before marriage. He asked me a question around, how rich do you want us to become?
Wow.
That was profound.
Do you remember?
I'm like, this guy that is still wearing
what was going through your mind then?
What was going through his mind? It was like, babe, how rich do you want us? Why are you not still struggling with Mr. Big's job? I'm like, hello.
I've not even started Mr. Big.
Hello. He has not even started. But I mean, again, that showed me that this guy thinks big. He thinks big. And it's not just about what he has now. It's about what he knows that he potentially, can become and will become. I'm like, yeah, I die here. Like, I love this kind of mindset. So, yeah, that was the only conversation that is close to money conversation before.
Yeah.
Marriage.
But the truth is, like you said, we kind of shared similar beliefs. We are not big spenders. We understood that it was important to save. We understood it was important to prioritize the family. So maybe because we just, during conversations, we just knew that, we align around, those key themes around money. So it wasn't a, sit down conversation of how we're going to do money, how we're going to do this, but in practice, what we did was, when, we got our salaries, we looked at what does the family need, in terms of upkeep, food,
right?
Anything we needed to pay for, subscription, all of that. Once we, settled all of that, everything at that early stage, because by the time we got married, I was working in an oil and gas company, Chevron, and I was being paid very well, right? I was being paid very well. So once we took out the money that we needed for the running of the house, every other thing, went into savings and investment. We are not big spenders, we were just before we started. We don't really go out, so there's not a lot of things that,
but we have things that we splurge on, right?
Like,
well, we love fine dining, and then we can do that, so, frequently. We love traveling as well,
So once that is settled, every other thing went into, but there was joint knowledge about, how much, the old, family purse was, what we used, to run the family, and what the rest of the money was going into.
Can you remember when you now landed your big job with Chevron? And what was the pay? Tell us. Remember what was the pay?
Moving from. I like that question because it was moving from.
I'll tell you the history. I started
small
from
to big. Did it affect your change in lifestyle?
Yeah, spending habit.
So I think that was a very good question. So my first job was Mr. Big's 27.5. Then I went to NBC Coca-Cola. I think it was around 120. So that's a times 4 jump.
Wow.
Then I got a job with Chevron and it went to like 400. This is 2008 or was it 2006? 2006.
2006 was when she was at Ministry of Justice.
Yes.
So you had your job?
Yeah, okay. So 2006, I was a trainee with Chevron.
Okay.
But I got fully employed in 2008. And the salary went to like,
that times 4.
And that's like 400. 2008, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, when you work with oil and gas, it's not even really the
other benefits.
Because I remember when the first extra benefit came 2 months after, I just went and pointed to car 1.2.
But I would say, baby, I want people you more some. like, you don't know what's going on. They
So I
just find
got-
out something has dropped
I got
again.
employed in.
Oh my goodness.
I was stabbed in November. By December, I bought a car
my
in 2008. I think it was 1.2 Toyota Corolla.
You be like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I mean that was the
Progression.
That was the progression. But I think, as with anything in life, right? The people around you matter a lot. So as my pay increased, I was also fortunate, with benefit of answer, that I had the right people around me. So I had like two, key friends, at Chevron, and of course friends I made outside Chevron, and we always had discussions about money. Thankfully, all of us were progressing our career, and I can remember, very clearly that my friend, he's still at Chevron, by the way, and we had a lot of conversation around money, that this money that is coming in, we have to be careful not to
Be carried away.
not be carried away, and match the increase
With
with the new lifestyle. So I always made sure that I kept things, under wrap. I was not suffering when I was earning 120, 150. So there's no reason for me to move
just
from one.
bloat my-
Yes, I can move from maybe 150 to 200, a bit more comfort. Now I don't like this kind of shoe. It's this kind of shoe and all of that. But I don't have to move from that 150 and match it up to the old 400. Then the essence of the increase and all of that is defeated. So I think that really helped, because I had the right, people around me. I had the right models. We, peer mentored each other. And of course, my wife also would not be someone that, I'm now earning 400. Oh, we have to now do this. We have to now do that. So we just had that, that understanding. And of course, she was also progressing her career. She actually even started her own law firm. She was getting like, major gigs. But we made sure that we maintained, that level
Chevron
of lifestyle.
friends were my first clients. Money.
family business. Wow, that's quite interesting. So for you, how much of, looking back, how much of like the increase, the growth in terms of income, how were you able to hold back? Because at the end of the day, we are humans, right? You see, okay, for example, you said immediately you got your benefit, you went to buy a car. Mm-hmm. I'm sure getting a car would have added some other form of, okay, I now need to do this, do that. How were you able to hold back? Or how were you, as a couple, were you be able to say, okay, you know what, we've done this now, let's just relax here, or let's do this. How were you able to do that? Because trust me, the problem, which you already mentioned, is once there is an increase, everybody just feels the need to just bloat up their expenditure. So how were you able to hold back as a couple?
Okay, so tracking back to, growing up, my mom was an educator, and I saw how big she was investing in us, ensuring that we have the best of education that was available at the time. And so when I now became, an adult, and I'm in a position where money was not an issue, ensuring that our children have the best of education was top of mind for me, because this is investing in their future, investing in my future. And so I would rather splurge on that. And not too long after that, we started SoFresh. So it was also another kind of investment. So not raised to consume, to have that consumption mindset, but, creating value and investing in the future of my children and, of course, my future as well. So that was much more important to me than ensuring that I get the latest, Gucci, or get the latest bags. I love good things, right? I won't deny it. I love to look good, but not
At the expense.
of what is most important to me, which will be great education for the kids, and then having a family investment.
So I guess discipline is quite key.
Yeah, so I wanted to add. So I think two things shaped my perspective around money and all of that. So I grew up looking at both my parents. They had been working all their lives, but my dad only was able to build a house after he had even retired, like after 30 years. And that was because he got the opportunity to travel out. and for about 5-7 years it was there. So Jackpot is not new, although we didn't move with him, but he was sending money back home, and we were painstakingly using that money to build a house. And so I saw that firsthand. And of course, I'm not going to go into all the other reasons why it was difficult. I mean, we had a lot of people living with us. It was responsible for a lot of, people, sponsoring them in school and all of that. So, so when I started earning, money of my own, that needed to form a basis for me to think that the very first few years was going to be important, not to spend all the money, but to think about the future. Sometimes when we think about our parents, we think, maybe they were not, prudent enough. Maybe they were not, wise enough. But the reality is, some of them were, but one, Nigeria caught up with them, or maybe they didn't have, the best education around money. So I took all of that to say, I want to do it differently. I want to invest very early, in life, and not, spend things as it came. And I think the second thing is just that I would account it to my upbringing, basically. So for an incident, when I got to Lagos, I wanted to buy a land, and one of our uncles, lived in Lagos, and we started interacting. Egbon, I want to buy a land. Then he showed me a land. This land was not even main Lagos, so it was around, if you know Opik. Yeah. So he took me to that land. He had a property there, and then they told me that land was 2 million. This is 2010. 2.5.
Yeah.
It was 3.5. Because he had a relationship with the community, he said I created for 2.5, and I almost fainted. Why? Because I was coming from Ilorin.
How much was it?
If I wanted to buy a land next to the governor's office, then I won't spend 2.5 million for one plot. So I couldn't reconcile that a plot of land, and it was even too available, and I would have gotten it for 5 million. But my brain could not comprehend buying, land for 5 million. So I said, I'm just going to get one plot. So I guess that kind of, upbringing also helped, because I didn't see myself, splurging, spend a lot of money, at that early stage. I believe that, that early stage, the first 5, 10, 15 years, an opportunity for you to, build a foundation. Yes, live, enjoy yourself, but, don't over-enjoy, don't over-indulge. And that's always been my, reasoning, right from that early stage. That was why I made sure that my, expense didn't just immediately match up with, because it was actually a very rapid increase.
Yeah.
In fact, the rapid increase came after I got into the system. So in the space of about 2-3 years, it went from like 400 to 1 point something. And I'm like, see all this money. I think it was even the too much money that made us go into business.
We are going to get
what am I going to do with all of this?
Yeah, we're going to get there. But what you just talked about now, you've actually taken me to a question I wanted to ask. Like, what are the lessons or the mistakes that you've seen your parents made? And how has that really helped you? You've touched on that. But I would like you to probably paint a particular scenario that you can remember. I can remember that when my dad did this, that's the reason why I'm trying to do this now. That's the reason why I don't want to do this now. You touch on something that I don't know, maybe it's the same thing for everybody. Then our parents were almost responsible for multiple people. Some way, somehow. I don't know. Right. Maybe sister, cousin, this, So in your own, and I think you should also speak to that as well. What is that scenario that you can remember that because my dad did this, that's why I don't want to do this, or because he didn't do this, then I have to do this? In terms of money, of course.
When it came to money, right? So I think it's what I had said. So like I said, but his own situation was peculiar. He was one of the very few in his whole family that was educated. So he had that kind of burden and responsibility, even to, with my mom, to provide that foundation for, all of his brothers. But like I said, in doing that, in fact, we used to farm. We had a big farm because at some point we were like 13, 12 in the house. There was even no way the salary of 2 lecturers, we are going to be able to feed 13. So we had a big farm because some of those, my uncles, my brothers, they were farmers. They came from the village, started going to school. So we had a big farm. One of the things I try to change around that. So I'm also very pro family. We give, to people around, but I make sure that I reserve something for myself and for the future. So I'll say, he basically had no investments that I know of. No investment. The first time I started an investment was my elder brother, my direct brother. I was talking about shares and all of that. So I think that's I'm not. I don't know if I should call it an error, but that's something he didn't do that we now try to do differently. Yes, give to people. Yes, help the community, but also invest and think about the future. So I think that's a big one of the big things that are done differently is making sure that I invest not just for today, but for the future.
I
Can you
mean,
remember any
yeah,
scenario?
pretty much similar, which would be the fact that my dad didn't invest at all. I had no recollection. If he did, I would know. So, but yes, he built a very big house in Ilorin, which he had to sell, after a while. But I think it's about investment, thinking beyond now, and just building into the future, into the lives of the kids. That is one thing that I learned from his experience. Having access to money is not just the end of it. It's about what you are able to do with the money. And my mom, with her meager salary, she was able to jump in, support, ensure that we go to the best of schools around. So from her, I also learned the fact that it's a teamwork, and so you have to come in to support. She would buy stock at the time. She was doing that with her, what is left after paying some bills. But then she was still doing that. So from my mom, I learned that things can go wrong, maybe with a spouse, finances, but the partner should come in to see how they can support. So that would continue to fuel my drive to see that once I see money is just like, it comes and it can go, really fast. So it's about what you do with it that counts.
All right. Thank you. So, I run a company called MinieMoney. The main reason why we started MinieMoney was, me interacting with my kids, and I realized that there's really no platform, no product that these kids are using that is actually helping them to understand money more. And I'm also of the belief that time is still the greatest asset for them,
Absolutely.
right? If we put them in a situation where they start to interact with money, they'll make mistakes, which they will. But because they still have time, imagine a 14-year-old starting to save, invest, make mistakes, and by the time you are 20, 25, that's like 7-8 years.
Right.
You are almost a pro. You already understand it. Because money is a cycle. You will see that when there's a recession, then there's a bump, then there's a boom, then there's something. It's always a cycle. Once you already go through that cycle, you already know what to do and how to do. Now, it's a third generation for you guys now. Your parents, now you have kids. How are you putting all this together, right, into proper education, into proper training for your kids to get them ready for the inevitable future of how to interact with money? Goke, I think you should go.
So I think what we have tried to do is to go the formal and informal route, because I agree with you. I wished, even though my interaction with money was haphazard, so I had my brother talking about shares, but I didn't really understand money until maybe I was 30 and a bit older than that. Understanding how money really works and what money was. So what we try to do for them is we talk about informally, we talk about money, we let them understand money, the scarcity of it, making it how
you
to
bring them into some of your real investment conversations.
So not yet, but maybe the older one
Older
now
one.
that is about 16. Yes. So I'm starting to, and he's also very curious. And
But in
thankfully,
a way, yes, because he understands that, of course, we're running SoFresh and we have investors. Sometimes he would ask questions about investments. What does it mean? How do you give them their returns? And they also introduce them early to entrepreneurship in school. So you see that they are even having entrepreneurship day, business day, where the students are
What school is that?
selling
Is it Wellspring?
kind of bag.
Green Springs.
Green
Green
Spring
Springs,
School, where they are doing some handcraft stuff and they are selling it, trading it for money, building a marketing plan, and they've gone for some competition around that, so they are exposing them. And at home, yes, what we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
so informally we try to do that, have conversations around what we do, money and all of that. And then formally also we expose them to, some, education. So when we see maybe programs that are talking about money, focus on children, I think we've registered for them for about 2 or 3 programs like that, for them to learn about money, how it works, how to make, how to save. So that's what we're doing. And, as they grow older, the plan will be to have real conversations. I like the older one now. He finished secondary school, and then he did IT, and then we opened a bank account for him, and then he got paid. And so he has a bit of change in his
I'm not happy
account.
with you, Goke.
No,
No,
he's had
I'm
a
not-
bank
I'm
account
not telling-
before now. But
So
that's
when we
not
went, no.
accessible.
So basically, when we started MinieMoney, I reached out to him, open account. He opened the account, but
There's
nothing. That not doing anything. So that's why.
Okay.
So we have
So
to
does it
revisit
take him
that.
on
Does it work
that?
like a regular bank account?
Yes,
Oh,
now
okay.
it does.
Oh, okay.
So because we had to do a lot of tweaking, one for regulation, product wise, but yes, now with his NIN, he can have a bank account.
Okay.
If you want to link, if you have yours, you want to link it to his, so you can monitor what he's doing. It also works perfectly. But a lot of
So I was
teenagers
trying to
don't
make
want
a
that.
point. So after I did that, I'm trying to remember the conversation. He needed money, right? And I told him that now you have money in your account. I said, Daddy, I don't want to use my
money.
So I asked him, why don't you want to use your money? They said I want the money to be, he doesn't want to split it
grow
now. He wants it
and
to grow. So I use
Even
that's
that wants
exactly
his money to grow now.
Yeah, so I think it's just my parents never talked to me about money. So it's in being very conscious and deliberate, intentional about having those money
And just
conversations with them.
Great. Just to layer on that, on my part, I also try to explain to them that money is a means of exchange. And this conversation usually happens when I sell one of my online courses, because I do, consulting and all. And I have digital products. It's a lot. So anytime they see that an alert has entered, Mommy, who paid you? I'm like, I have digital products that I don't need to come online to sell. People just go to my website and they pay for it. And they are paying you this much for what? But you are not even, I say it's not a physical product, but I am monetizing my knowledge and it is value to them. That is why they are paying me money. So money is a means of exchange. If you have a value that you can offer, who will pay you for that value?
It's never too early or they're not too young to know about money.
Because anyways, what we don't understand is there's the internet. So they see here a lot of things. So it's better that.
See young kids like them making money.
So it's just better we have a
I
platform.
think there's a YouTube channel one of our kids follow. Is it like 11, 12-year-old? The guy is actually a millionaire in US dollars from YouTube. People watch the guy play games and all of that. So like you said, they see these things, they know these things. And it's important for them to understand how
a very curious mind.
Yeah.
They want to know. Even if they're not asking you, they're asking someone else. So why can't we be intentional about creating those conversations?
Exactly. So this now takes me to SoFresh. What was going through your mind when you decided
You want to quit
to quit a good paying job for uncertainty in an industry that was literally non-existent? What was going through your mind? How can you be that audacious? Like, how dare you do that kind of a thing? Can you just talk to us about it?
And tell them when your
Because
supervisor
in the words
calls
of in the words of in the words of Peter
telling you
Obi,
that.
I was like, I got the advice from a madman.
His supervisor said, before I collect this resignation, I want to talk to your wife.
Hey,
Like, are you both in this together?
hey,
So I think it was a series of events, and it was not just one thing. I didn't decide one day. Funny enough, people I grew up with, there was nothing that in me that looked like I was going to be an entrepreneur, right? So when I finished, university, I was looking for a job. So that first few months, I didn't get a job. I got the idea for a business, and I wrote down a number of things. So I eventually got a job. I moved from the first one, second one to the third one. By the time I was in Chevron, the pay was fantastic. It was great, but I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't enjoy it. I looked at myself and said, I'll be 45, I'll be 50. I wouldn't like to still be doing what I'm doing. I didn't feel like I was fully expressing myself and maximizing my potential. Yeah. I thought there was more to me than just doing this like routine work and earning a lot of money. And that was like the turning point. Then there was a period where it became more severe. The facility was supposed to work was not yet ready. So for about 18 months, I was deployed to a generator house. Here was a guy with a lot of promise. I'd finished top of my class, and all I did every day I woke up was to go and start the gen. I'm talking of like 1,000, kV, like really big, massive, generating, because the facility wasn't ready. They had to just plug us in places. That period was one of the most frustrating for me. That was when I hatched the idea of the business, shared it with my wife, and started thinking about it. We just decided to, what do we have to lose? Let's give it a shot. I was working, she was working. We could start this on the side, and it was just a problem that resonated with us that I wanted to solve. So it was about how can we provide convenient shopping for people to access fresh fruits, vegetables, which was what we grew up eating. in Ilorin.
Because you said you had a farm growing up.
We had a farm. We had a big compound where we had lots of trees. Even the fruits that we bought at the market were very fresh compared to what we experienced when we got to Lagos.
Right.
So we said, can we replicate that for people in Lagos? Bring together fresh fruit, fresh vegetables in a clean, serene environment. So I didn't really see it as anything, to lose. So we started, the business, and then we did that for about 6 years. And by that time, it had grown and metamorphosed into something that had a lot of potential. And I found joy, I found fulfillment
Doing it.
in that than going to the work that was paying me a lot of money. By this time, 6 years, SoFresh wasn't even paying me because I was still in paid employment. But even if we made a profit of, let's say, 500,000 in a month, it gave me bigger satisfaction than whatever they were going to pay me. So I just thought, I think it was time to. And I told myself, if we're going to fully maximize the potential of this business, then I need to join my wife and let's put us together and push it. And so I decided I was leaving.
So when you said join my wife,
immediately.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did you get that
6
story
years.
now?
Yeah,
Yes,
6
years.
Yeah. So, but you said join my wife. So
Yeah.
you were running it full time.
I was
So
running
we
it
started
full time.
2010. Then she joined. She moved fully like 2013. Yes, 2013.
I was doing it side by side
doing
with
side by
my
side.
law
So with the
office.
nature of my job,
I had
I
the
always
law office
went
at the time.
Offshore, okay.
on and off. But she was available 100%, so she was running it together with her law firm. 3 years after she closed down the law firm and started running SoFresh 100%, but I was still doing 50-50. So when I was out at home 2 weeks, we do it together, then I'll be off.
Right.
But then 2016, 6 years later, we decided to join forces. Let's just blow this thing up. It has potential. We've now grown to 2 locations. The business was doing well. People were starting to really embrace healthy eating, healthy lifestyle. I thought this was just our time.
So You basically ran everything at the beginning. Now, but before I ask you this question,
Okay.
I made a statement to someone, and I don't know how true it is. I want to know if you guys can validate it for me or otherwise.
Okay.
I said the wellness industry.
Right.
First of all, I made a blanket statement. I said the wellness, healthy industry was built by the millennials.
Right.
So I was speaking to someone, that used to live in America, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Okay, let me rephrase. I believe the wellness or healthy living industry in Nigeria was built on the back of millennials. Do you think is that statement correct or not?" Because I'm looking back.
Yeah.
Growing up, I'm not sure I saw any gym anywhere. I didn't see my parents saying they're going to the gym or they're going out for a walk. I didn't see anything around fitness clothes or food or anything.
Those will be restricted to like the very, high end, what's it called, like high net or maybe
High network
in
individual.
selected,
Income earning
high income
families.
earners, maybe in selected hotels.
Yeah, or maybe in their house or
I
something.
used to say, when was that SoFresh in 2010? Salad was not a food in Nigeria. People didn't wake up and say, "I wanted to eat salad." The best you get is coleslaw by the side of your party rice. Nobody, thought about all of that. So I think you're right, because even when we started, the awareness had just started to grow in Nigeria.
Do you remember how many gyms that we had in Lagos at 2010 when you guys started?
No,
I can't remember.
Can't remember.
But it's to tell you how few,
I can't.
Yeah.
they were. I think the growth started around about 2013, 14, 15. That's when we started having the increased
Sales.
when I look at the trajectory of SoFresh, I'll say that we were early to the market. We came in just about a year or 2 years before. For you to know how, there's always this story we always tell. When we were going to get our first job in Ikoyi, I told the agent that I wanted to sell juices, smoothies, and salad. The guy wanted to pay more new. He sat us down because he was an elderly man and advised us
Don't do it.
that don't do this business.
Don't
I will
waste it.
give
He
you
literally begged us.
I will give you
Like-
the back of my office back here for you to
Just look for a production room and then be
So
doing
imagine you go
deliveries.
to an agent and say you want to do juices, smoothie, salad. They will gladly, believe that. So back then it was not just something
You're
people
like,
thought
I haven't
about.
seen this one. Oh.
So, back to what I wanted to ask you. So you started to run the business initially before he joined you.
Okay.
And you just told me that you just wrote a book. Start
Right.
small, scale
Scale
big.
big.
So you guys should go and get the book. We'll actually be giving some away. So start small, scale big.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wrote that book from a lot of experience in
Right.
business.
Right.
Can you speak to that in relation to SoFresh? What were the numbers like when you guys started? And what is the growth like today? What's the number today? Do you remember the first
Our startup
sales,
capital,
everything?
right? Startup capital was around
It was around 3 million naira,
at the time,
2010.
solely from personal savings, and then gradually sales. Speaking about sales, sales is neither here nor there, but I recall vividly we've sold 5K before.
You sold
From
3K.
3K, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 12 hours.
Wow.
Hey,
3K,
and it's not as if money was
5K,
an issue,
8K.
and it was just purely passion and the fact that we just believe that we have something great to offer our community. Okay, so what inspired the book Start Small, Scale Big? Start Small, Scale Big is a book written from my over 14 years of experience being an entrepreneur in Nigeria, and it's basically about teaching entrepreneurs how to start, structure, grow, and scale their business. We were first-time entrepreneurs when we started SoFresh. And so I said that to let you know that we had no prior knowledge around running or managing a business. And there's a difference between being a great chef and being a great or a smart entrepreneur. And so we learned on the job, made all the mistakes. For instance, hiring, right, which is where a lot of small business owners hit those roadblocks. You just want to hire people because they look like it. But yes, on the job, you learn that you have to actually test for the ability to do some certain kind of jobs, some certain skill sets before you get the person on the job. And inventory, documenting, and all of that was a big issue. Marketing wanted to kick us out of business because we were doing door-to-door marketing. This was not Instagram time where now with a click of a finger, you reach the whole world. So he was literally doing leg to leg, door-to-door, sharing flyers. It was tough, it was hard, but we learned, of course, smarter ways to market. Even with that kind of climb at the time, we were involved with trade fairs, we were giving out samples, and that gave us insight into our data to say your target audience are not where you are. So our location was wrong. We were sitting where our target market wasn't, and that means that we will be frustrated. So our target market was on the island, and then we were on the mainland, and then data showed that our target customers are on the island, as opposed to the mainland where we were praying, fasting that we will sell, but you have to be located right. So Start Small, Scale Big was inspired by business owners who have watched our startup story. They've seen us started small back inside a 45 square meter space in Ogba. And they've seen us expanded into Ikoyi, Awolowo Road. They saw us in Lekki. They saw us in MM2. They've seen us in Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Abuja. Wow. And they're wondering, you are in Agungi, you are in this same Nigeria. How are you able to start that small? And then this company is worth multi-billion, dollars. How, right? And so that inspired, because a lot of people are stuck at that level where they are doing well, they are making money, but they are not just able to scale. They are just not able to make things happen without being there physically. So we are here, right, being your guest on the show, but all our stores are running. Our customers are being served. They are happy. Money is exchanging hands, and we can look at it on our phone, and we are happy. So how can we make this happen? So I'm saying, instead of getting stuck, from my experience, I'm able to do a documentary and provide you with a clear blueprint, like a roadmap that takes you from those early stages where you are like a first-time entrepreneur, or you are even experienced, even 10 years, but there's really nothing much to show for it because you cannot really replicate your structure in multiple locations. So
where can they get the book, Start Small?
All right, you can get this on my website, on the link in my bio on Instagram at SoFresh. It is available on
Amazon,
this platform.
any of those
it will be on Amazon this week, yes.
Okay.
And it's in multiple bookstores as well, right? Yes.
Okay. I think you wanted to add something to it.
I just wanted to maybe share some numbers.
Yeah,
because you
exactly.
asked for that.
So
but
I wanted the numbers. So I thought you wanted to add some, but yeah, tell us the numbers. You guys invested 3 million.
Okay,
do you remember the first year sales? What is the revenue like now?
Oh, so we invested 3 million. The first year sale was like 2 million naira. The second year was about 15. It was a very slow start then. I think we did maybe 24. If by the third year we thought this business wasn't worth it and we're going to close it, but we took a number of decisions, strategic decisions, and then we grew. And then we started with one staff, which was the staff person was living with us. So it was basically 3 of us that started the business, and we've gone from there now to a staff of about 150 staff.
Wow.
12 locations in 5 states. Generating billions of revenue annually. We have 3 foreign investors on our cap table.
Any local investors?
Not yet.
Why?
I don't know. You should ask Nigerians.
These
Nigerians,
ex-founders,
they
we
love
don't
they,
even look
they
for
love
them.
tech now.
So
Nigerian investors love
serious.
But
tech.
have you spoken to a couple and they no,
Yeah, we've already spoken to a couple of Nigerian funds. In fact, before we even get any, before we got any the first investments, we've spoken to like 3, local funds. We just didn't seem to get to that point where they eventually invested. But yeah, it's a growing business. She said multi-billion, it's multi-million. So if you are watching, we still need money. We're talking about money, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, we've just been on that, growth trajectory since then.
yeah, that is great. So who earns more on SoFresh? Either of you.
My CEO, my oga at the top. What question is that? He wants him to reduce my salary.
And I'm getting somewhere now.
I'm not going to counter that for the sake of.
So he earns more.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to tell us
He
how much
does
you
more.
earn now?
I don't think so.
He works more.
So you
I
want to
don't
tell us
think
how
that
much you
When
earn
on
now?
paper, he earns more. But at the end of the day,
Okay. So do you want to share, Goke? How much do you earn today?
From SoFresh.
Alone.
When we started SoFresh, I was earning 0 naira from SoFresh.
Yeah.
That lasted until about 6 years. In fact, when I left Chevron to join SoFresh, I took about a 75% cut in my pay. Again, because I knew it was a temporary setback.
You know, we don't know, but we don't know how much it was earning when he left Chevron. But we can,
even
Again,
though
I know it was
75% is a lot.
It's a
A
lot. I
lot.
know it was a temporary setback, and I must also confess, because I like to be very real. When I was leaving Chevron, I got a healthy payoff,
Severance.
Okay.
severance pay, because there was a program for people when I wanted to leave voluntarily, and I chose to leave voluntarily. So I didn't just leave without any fallback
yeah.
cushion in those early days. Right about now, even though I'm not going to discuss like the actual figure, but I'll say that all together, put all together, SoFresh, pays me upward north of like, okay, let me analyze it. Was so annual of in excess of like 25-30 M excess of that. It's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money, to be honest.
It's not a lot of money. Yeah.
just
Entrepreneurs
from
are
that,
trying.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money.
To be honest. But
Strictly from
From
SoFresh.
Fresh.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's come to your digital product. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you how much you earn from SoFresh. You know why we're not going to ask you? We already have an idea based on what is earning. So your digital books, like how much on the average do you earn from it annually?
Last year I did close to 50 M.
Really?
Right.
So you made more than what CEO is making annually on digital
That's what I
books?
changed
You
another.
said
She's madam. Oh.
You
That's what I
said so.
choose.
Is that- Well, that's
I'm
good.
trending, of course, more this year with this bestseller.
Definitely. By the way, she said in 3 weeks you've done over 1,000 copies. That is really, really great.
Thank you.
So well done. Anyways, I think we should round up here now. It has really been amazing. I believe this is probably going to be one of the best episodes that we've had, having a couple and you guys actually sharing your knowledge and perspective in relation to money from growing up until meeting each other, up until having kids, up until businesses. So in rounding up, what are your future projections or future ambitions in relation to probably business, or how to double your income?
Going forward, the plan is to continue to grow the business, being as many locations as much as possible. So we're now 12. The immediate goal is the next 2 years. We want to be able to double that, and of course, like you said, double or triple. What SoFresh can give to the founders, to the investors. Now we have investors, so I'm not only thinking about myself. I'm thinking about
shareholders,
the shareholders. They will come knocking another 4, 5, 6 years and all of that. So yeah, so that's the goal for the business to grow, expand, provide that value to customers, and of course be able to capture part of that value back.
How about you, Bimbo?
I mean, my plans are not too big. I already have a lot of resources. I just need to do more collaborations and be more creative in how thousands and millions of people are able to access my resources and products. And with that, I will continue to, of course, generate income, and much more importantly, which is very important to me, create impact, change lives, and help people move from small, of course, to great, leveraging the wisdom, insight, knowledge packed in all my digital products.
All right. Thank you once again. This has been amazing. A special note to Nigerian or local investors. People say that they don't invest in business, they invest in people.
Right.
And these are amazing people that I believe that local investors really, really need to support. We've all just heard the SoFresh story. It's going to be a slap on the face on local investors for this kind of company to have grown from 2010 up until date and still growing.
Right.
It will be so sad that the story will be told and then no local investors are participating in it. So we hope that you guys will reach out to them. We normally don't do this, but I believe that is something that needs to be done. So thank you, Goke, and thank you, Bimbo.
Thank you. Wow.
And next time, see you. And remember, gossip sells, but money pays. Goodbye.